Over the last couple seasons, the Golden State Warriors have been good at one thing, and that one thing is doing a whole lot of nothing. How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Howdy Hoopers Pod. Today we're going to be talking about a team that I've wanted to talk about for a while, but it's kind of hard to talk about a team when they're not doing a whole lot. And the Warriors, they kind of did something today, but they're still doing a whole lot of nothing, not really doing anything to help the team. As I'm sure you guys probably saw, the Golden State Warriors signed Al Horford to a multi-year contract. They signed a player that's 39 years old. I was talking to someone earlier at work today, and I was talking about how Al Horford's in the stage of his career where he was like Tim Duncan, where he's not really like very fluent. His movements are very, very jagged. And yeah, Al Horford is still a pretty good player, and this would seem like a good pickup, but a lot of people are expecting him to start. And in this stage of Al Horford's career, he's the type of player you want to come off your bench and play, 10 to 15 minutes. Come in and play those short stints, be able to come in, relieve your starting center, and he's only going to be in and play valuable minutes while your starting center is out. The problem with the Warriors is they've done absolutely nothing this offseason. I heard reports that Jimmy Butler was pressing the front office saying, what's going on, guys? Why have we done absolutely nothing? They brought in Jimmy Butler last year at the deadline and didn't do anything this year. We saw that Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry were a pretty good pair. They played pretty well. They were able to get out of the first round, and then obviously Curry got hurt in the second round. But regardless, I don't think they're winning that second round either way. They barely escaped the first round against, the Rockets, who were very inexperienced that year. But I don't know. It's just hard to talk about a team that has been good for so long and have a player of Steph Curry that's been on the team his entire career, is your franchise's best player, a top 10 player of all time, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest point guard to ever play the game. And he's 37 years old. Yes, he's older, but he's still putting up, these numbers like 25 points per game. He's still a player that's good enough to be the best player on a championship team. And the thing is, I don't see that changing anytime soon. And for a team like the Warriors, who before Curry were, worth one of the lowest amounts of any NBA team, and now I'm pretty sure they're either first or second, the most valuable team in the entire NBA, worth over like $10 billion or something like that. And it's all due to one man, that's Steph Curry. Why would you not go all in for this man? Trading this, I think, see it the same way as the Nuggets. When you have a player that good, trading like a 2031 pick seems scary, or trading, a younger player that potentially has potential early in their stage, like Kuminga, his first couple years in the NBA, it seems scary to trade those players because this is our future, and you don't know how long this is going to last. But when you have a player this good, who's the best player in your franchise, it's okay to mortgage your future for 5 years if you're making that player, have the best possible team around him. Because the thing is, there's a lot of teams in the NBA that have never won a championship. The Warriors are lucky enough to have a man named Steph Curry who's helped them win 4. And the thing is, as a Jazz fan, I've never seen my team win. Even before I was born, my team, during their best years, never won the championship. Would I mortgage 5 years, maybe 10 years of being one of the worst teams in the NBA to get one championship? It would be a pretty hard 10 years. But the thing is, you could go through those 10 years even without winning a championship and being one of the worst teams in the league. So I think almost any NBA fan, unless you're like one of the top end, like the Warriors or the Celtics or the Spurs, teams that have just constantly won year after year, most teams, I would say 25 out of 30 teams in the NBA would mortgage 10 years of their team's success to win one single championship. And the Warriors are in a situation where they're not willing to sacrifice even 3 or 4 years, or sacrifice, younger players like Moses Moody or Kuminga earlier in their career to try to build this team. They tried to bridge, these young players that they got the year that they missed the playoffs, and they were trying to combine them with, the Clay and Draymond and Curry era. And it didn't really work, and we haven't really seen it work a whole lot with bridging these two things. But if they would have cashed in back then, they could have got a lot bigger bang for their buck. And I've been talking about Kuminga a little bit in this video. I've kind of been going around it, not really talking about him. But what is going on with Jonathan Kuminga? Like, we saw a lot of restricted free agents this season not really get contracts off the bat. The second apron has made it really hard for like gauging how much you need to pay these young players. But we saw, Josh Giddey finally get his contract, and we saw Cam Thomas also get his contract. But there's one player, Jonathan Kuminga, who's still left on the board. And the thing is, the reason he's still on the board is obviously the Warriors don't want to pay him, but the Warriors are also overvaluing how much they think he's worth. And Jonathan Kuminga wants to have a team where he's solidified as going to get these, starter minutes or get the chance to be able to prove himself. Jonathan Kuminga thinks he's a really good player, but knows that he can't prove himself on this Warriors team. So it's in a weird situation where I'm pretty sure the Warriors offered him 3 years, $75 million, which is perfect. I feel like that's the right range for him. But they waited so long that they ruined their reputation with Jonathan Kuminga, and now he won't even sign the contract. So they're in a really weird situation. Kuminga wants to go to the Kings. The Kings don't really have anything the Warriors probably want, and they're not going to give up a player like, Zach LaVine, which, might be the solution. But Kuminga's not worth that. And it's just a weird situation. And it's also the gamble you're taking when you have these restricted free agents and you're not willing to overpay for them slightly. You're running the risk of, them being unhappy and not wanting to play for your team. So it's a really scary thing that the Warriors' only young-ish asset that they're able to contain over the years now doesn't want to be on their team, doesn't want to sign an extension. So it's kind of weird. You've got this Steph Curry player who's, one of the best players in your franchise history, the best player in your franchise history. You have an older Draymond Green who's been there his entire career as well. You don't know how much longer he is. Curry, I think we can confidently say he has, maybe 5 more really good years. Maybe not MVP level Steph Curry, but you have a lot of really good years left in Steph Curry. Draymond Green, on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe he's got 2 more good years in him. And Jimmy Butler, I don't know how well he's going to hold on with, progression. There's players that like Curry that they're at their peak and they come down a little bit and it seems like they're just going to stay like this forever. Jimmy Butler was not quite as high as Curry. He was right here, but he's made a dip. And I think we're going to see another dip in the next couple seasons, which is scary. All right, so my SD card got full, so we kind of have a quick cut in the video. But basically what I was saying is I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to age as gracefully as a lot of players like we've seen, like, his teammate Steph Curry or LeBron James or Kevin Durant. He's one of those hard-nosed defensive players, get in the mid-range, use his body, and he's a guard that's been known for his defensive end and different things like that. And those players don't seem to age as gracefully as someone like a Steph Curry who, he's athletic, not as athletic as a lot of NBA players, but doesn't need his athleticism in order to be as good as he is. But yeah, it's just hard to know how long this team, has this window. And they're locked up with money between, a lot of older players, and they just signed another player that's 39 years old. So it doesn't really make sense. They're like, I don't know what's going on. They're kind of half in, half out. They don't want to mortgage their future. They don't want to try and mix things up. And the thing is, there's not really anyone left that they could sign in free agency. And even if they could, any good players that could be on the market, they don't have the money. They don't have the cap space in order to do that. And the only player that they can really bring in order to trade to maybe get someone else would be Jonathan Kuminga. But at this point, in order to keep him, to get him to say yes, you're going to have to overpay him, or it's just going to get to the point where the season started and you're going to have to give him a 1-year deal or something like that. He wants a 1-year deal to be able to prove himself, but also he wants the 1-year deal so at the end of that year, he can just leave. So the Warriors are in a really, really weird situation. They've shot themselves in the foot, and I'm scared that they're going to, waste the last 5 years of Curry's career. I'm hoping that Curry stays. I think he's the type of player that is going to retire at the Warriors. He's willing to, be on these bad teams, be able to be, 6 or 7 seeds, whatever they're going to be. He's okay with doing that for the rest of his career. He might not be happy with it, but he also knows how beneficial it is to be able to stay at this one team. So it's scary to think that, it's not fun to see these legendary players, these top 10 players, these players that, you've idolized all growing up, and they're going to go out their last 3, 4, 5 seasons very, very mediocre. You want to see them surrounded by a team and then just be like, all right, I'm not retiring because we don't have a good team. I'm retiring because, I'm done with basketball. It's time for me to move on, whatever. But it's really, really, irritating as someone that's watched the Warriors growing up, been able to watch all these championships and be able to enjoy it and, fall in love with these players, just for the organization to just slowly seem like it's falling apart and, that you're doing your best player of all time kind of dirty. But the thing is, I was thinking of players that they potentially could bring in, and the only player really left is Malik Beasley. But the thing is, he's not really going to change anything. He's basically the same player as Buddy Hield, but you just have one of them coming off the bench, which the thing is, I think they do need more firepower off the bench. But I think they need one more player. There's no needle movers out there. And the thing is, you never know who's going to come up on the trade block, but it's also never important to know you're going to bank on the right situation at the right time, the right player popping up, the right star to be disgruntled. And the thing is, in order to make it work, I think you have to include Draymond Green, and I don't think the Warriors could possibly do that. I think that might be the last straw for Curry. But I want to hear what you guys think. The Warriors are this super, super confusing team, and I just don't know where they could go from here. Like, I would hate to be the front office right now because they've really, really shot themselves in the foot, and there's really nowhere to go from here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm trying to talk about as many NBA teams as I possibly can before the season starts. We've got about 22, 23 days left. We got preseason starting, I think the end of this week or maybe the beginning of next week. But I want to hear what teams you guys want me to talk about. I want to try to get as many teams as possible. So make sure to drop in the comments who you want me to talk about, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.